It is the most touchy issue in our society, in our nations, in the socio-political, cultural discourse, regardless of someone's position on it. I just find that it's something people don't want to talk about, right? It's not a pleasant thing to talk about. I very much share your views for the most part on this. But even I myself, there's times and places I'm willing to have the conversation, and there's lots of times and places I'm just like, I just don't want to, even just for my own sanity. I'm just like, oh gosh, like I can't. It's so heavy.
It's heavy.
It's so heavy. You're talking life and death. It's just, people can get very nasty about it. It personally has impacted lots of people in different ways. And so people can get very touchy about it. It's one of those things that's just like, maybe we can talk about all these other things, but that one, let's just leave it. This is kind of how it is in the UK. In the US, it's a much bigger social, cultural, political conversation. In the UK, it's just sort of tacitly accepted. Let's just leave that. Yes, there is a pro-life movement, but it's kind of just like, okay, these are the laws. That's how it is. And no one talks about it. It would be weird for a politician in the UK to come out and speak on this subject, whereas in the US, from both sides, it's a common part of the discourse. So from a personal level and a sanity level, I mean, how do you battle that day in, day out from your teenage years?
Yeah, it's very heavy. I wrote a book actually where I was a bit of a tell-all just about like the emotional, mental struggle of being involved in something so controversial and, you know, dealing with my own issues during the time. It's like, I'm not a perfect person. I've got my issues, my experiences. And, you know, one thing that has helped me a lot is remembering, I should say, that this is a fight where I'm not the victim. I'm an advocate. That's my job. And the victim are these children who don't have a voice and have zero legal status. And, you know, even late-term abortions, there's over 10,000 happening. That's just what's reported. 10,000 late-term abortions, babies that are pain-capable, can survive outside the womb in this country. Like, think about that for a minute. 10,000 infants being killed. And it's just so horrible to grapple with. But I remember that they're the ones I'm advocating for. They're the ones who have no voice and no legal status, and I want to be their voice. So that helps contextualize the problem and gives courage, because you're like, they need us. They need us to speak. And then also just looking at society at large. I mean, I know we've talked about like women, male, female relationships and all that world of stuff, which is a whole conversation we probably will get into at some point. But, you know, we've been told as women that abortion is this special portal to power, that if we just have the right to, as they call it, reproductive freedom or choice, to kill a baby, basically, we will therefore be more equalized with men, more powerful, more successful. And it's just a total lie. It's a complete lie. And since that lie has been told, you know, sexual revolution, Roe v. Wade, 1973, and so many women believe it. I mean, like women that are very talented. I mean, I think about someone like even Taylor Swift right now, right? And when Roe v. Wade was overruled a year and a half ago, Taylor Swift, you know, retweets Michelle Obama's very pro-abortion. My heart's broken that women don't have this right anymore. What right are you talking about? You're not talking about a right to be successful or a right to work, or you're talking about a right to kill.
Yes.
Abortion is killing. There's no way around it. It's ending the life of a child intentionally.
It's not just a child, it's your child.
It's not just a child, it's your child. Exactly. It's your own flesh and blood, which makes it, you use the word heavy. Of course it's heavy because it's personal at the most core fundamental level. But that should make us rise up and say, we got to stop this and we got to change the narrative, the lies that are being told on this. So that as a woman, you know, that also just gives me courage to say, I can't tolerate this, that my sisters, other women are being are living the lie that our empowerment is by trampling on children, when our superpower as women is to be able to bring a life into the world. Men can't do that. No. Men, we need men for that. We really need men for that, you know, thank God for men. But we have been blessed with that. It's in our design. And to distort that design, to turn against it and destroy that gift of a life is an assault on ourselves as it is on the child. I mean, the child's the primary victim, but it's also against our dignity as women, as nurturers. So I think that also just gets me up and saying, I have to stop. And I have kids now, and it's even more personal.
Yes.
It's like, these are children. They need advocates. And then I look contextually at like human societies over the last, thousands of years. Infant sacrifice has been practiced.
Oh yeah, very common.
For millennia. And the Roman Empire, the Greco-Roman Empire, it was commonly practiced, not just as like a pagan ritual, but it was commonly practiced because children weren't seen as equal in value to adults. Mm-hmm. Your development or your vulnerability meant you had less rights. But that's not just, that's not American, according to our own Constitution, that we all, as humans, regardless of our age, have the right to life. And that doesn't begin at birth. Mm-hmm. That begins at the beginning of one's life, which is fertilization. According to the science, human life comes into existence at fertilization. So all of that gives me courage.
Yeah. How much pushback do you get from men versus women on this issue? And do you find that the pushback is quite different? Because I would imagine there are hundreds of thousands, if not millions of people out there who would make the claim that you are anti-woman or you have internalized misogyny or you're some victim of the patriarchy or you're just a religious nut who, is interested in other people's bodies and sex lives and all the usual garbage, which
you sound like my Twitter replies, Zuby.
Oh, there we go. Yeah, which is extremely disingenuous, but this is how people like to frame the issue. And I would imagine that as a woman espousing that position so strongly versus a man espousing that position, the pushback is actually a little bit different. You're going to get pushback, but the things people say are quite different. Yeah,
it's an interesting question because I do think men have a special, like pro-life men, when they speak out, they're like, you're a man, you have no right to speak. Yep. And then pro-life women speak out, you're a handmaid, like we are like part of from the Handmaid's Tale. Yeah. It's so funny. It's like we're mad at you for voicing your opinion. And so that makes you a handmaiden and the Handmaid's Tale. Like the handmaidens and the Handmaid's Tale weren't allowed to have opinions, right? And so, of course, the easy way for a pro-abortion advocate to shut down the conversation is to just say, you're brainwashed, I'm not going to engage rationally with you. Yeah. And they're shutting down a rational conversation. That's not us doing that. That's them doing that. Because when you engage the rational conversation, it leads to the logical place, which is human life begins at fertilization. It's always wrong to take a human life. That's the idea of human rights, like the first right being life. Yeah. And that's what abortion is designed to do. So therefore, abortion is a violation of human rights. But there's a ton of pushback. I did like Dr. Phil's show a year and a half ago or whatever, and the audience was basically all pro-abortion.
Of course.
And it was like, you have no empathy for women. You don't care about women. And have you heard the stories of women who talk about their pain and despair after they had this abortion? And every year on the anniversary of when that baby would have been born, they mourn the baby that they don't have now in their life, because they were told this is good, I'm going to do this. And now that baby's dead. Like, do you know their stories? Do you care about their stories?
I think people also forget that half of those babies, at least, probably a bit more than half, are female.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. It's the greatest.
Those are the potential future women of the world.
They are the future. They are the future women of the world, and they're the greatest killer of girls in the world today. Is
sometimes intentionally even targeting because of sex.
Exactly. I mean, India and China particularly have tremendous demographic imbalances because of gendercide. I mean, The Economist had this cover saying that there are 100 million missing girls. This was like several years back. 100 million missing girls globally because of gendercide, killing babies in the womb via abortion just because they're girls. So it's a very real thing. But I think it's narrative. It's brainwashing. I mean, you know this. You talk about this all the time. Like there's brainwashing everywhere, and the sexual revolution brainwashing about men and women need to compete, and women need to destroy their fertility in order to be like men, and all this stuff. That is, I think, like this mind worm that has just distorted the views of so many people today. But the good news is there are huge pushbacks to that. I mean, that's Live Action's job, is constant education. What I'm trying to do with my show, just constant education. And I do think many voices now are speaking out against it, including many women, strong women. And I think that's making a difference.
Yeah.